No.
Alright, let's run it. Alright, what is up, guys? This is DDP, joined here by Enyi and DDP.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
We are here to talk a little bit of Mavs Fastbreak here. We've had a little bit more time to kind of process everything with the Porzingis trade.
Yep.
We're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to talk about what the Mavericks still need, as well as not just the trade deadline if they're going to make any more moves, but also a little bit of off-season shopping, so to speak.
So basically the fun stuff.
Yeah, the stuff people care about.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're at that point again, guys.
So, what are kind of your thoughts here, Enyi, now that we've had a little bit of time to kind of, digest everything with the Porzingis deal? We know the pros and the cons to it and all of that. How are you feeling?
So, for me, the way I'm looking at it is definitely a good trade for both sides. This is a trade that I will make if I was the Dallas Mavericks and if I was the New York Knicks, knowing their plans going into the offseason, trying to release some bad salary. The reason why they made this trade, and people are speculating, how come they didn't wait for other offers and stuff like that, is because the thing that got the deal done
was the willingness to take on the bad
contracts. And no other team was willing to do that. So,
well, they don't even know. It sounds like they didn't do their due diligence. They just wanted somewhere to jettison.
Exactly. So the fact that the Mavericks are willing to take on 2 contracts, that's what basically was like, all right, let's go ahead. He wants to be there, whatever. Let's not even deal with this issue anymore. So it was definitely a good trade. Now that everyone's talking about KD going to the Knicks and Kyrie going to the Knicks, wherever, it works out for both of them. If it doesn't happen, the Knicks are screwed. But
this is a make or break for the Knicks. If this fails, then lots of people are going to get fired.
The fact that you got Dennis Smith when you couldn't have traded him, so basically
you could have just drafted him.
But it's all right.
Correcting that wrong was the price of your franchise cornerstone.
Exactly.
But the relationship with them had soured it. I think he had lost faith, and then we talked about this before. 4 coaches in 3 years or something like that. 2 presidents. I mean, it was just unstable. And then, to be fair, nothing's really changed. It's just they're unstable with a lot of money now in a big market. But I mean, whether or not they get Kyrie and KD, the thing that I texted you about this a little bit. I've been frustrated with the notion that people say, hey, if they get KD and Kyrie, they clearly won this trade. Why? Why is it a winner and a loser situation? No. Both teams got what they want.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a win-win. This is how business is supposed to be done. That's how, when we talk about trades, we're talking about how we can make it advantageous for both sides. So us is about the now.
Yeah.
Knicks is about, hey, in a couple of months from now, we can put ourselves in position to actually compete.
Right.
So this is a good move for Dallas. This is a good move for New York. This is a good move for the league. If it's a good move for both of them, but if the Knicks can land 2 superstars, it's good for the league. That means more superstars spread out in more teams. So it'll be a lot more fun. However, though, we must talk about Kristaps Porzingis to the Mavs. Now,
I'm glad I waited for that. I was about to hit a negative drop. I thought you were going to say, like, now we got to talk about the downsides, and I was going to hit the boo.
Well, I mean, there is some downside. There is risk involved in this pick. And we were talking about this a little bit on Thursday when it went down.
Thursday is when it went down.
And we're talking about it. There is. I keep on looking at the screen. I should look at the camera.
Yeah, way up high.
Yeah. Hey, camera, how you doing? But there is some risk involved with this. You know?
Right.
We were looking at stats earlier, and how many like 200 plus games he could have played for the Knicks.
186. It was out of 296 possible. He played 186.
So he's had
injury histories aside from the ACL.
Exactly. And you got to take into account that this guy is 7'3",
240.
240. He doesn't have a lot of meat on his bones or whatever. Coming off an ACL injury, he used to have an anemia issue or something like that, where
his body doesn't produce like enough red blood cells,
something like that. So he's had injury issues, medical issues. So these are all stuff that we need to take into account when we're celebrating. I know, in a vacuum, having Kristaps Porzingis is awesome, but this can't be the end all be all for the Mavs.
No, it's not like it's not like it's not. No, it's not like it's the last move and you go, there it is. Yeah. There's the championship team.
Give us our trophy right now.
Yeah, no, that's not it. It's absolutely.
It's definitely a big. As big of a Dennis Smith fan I was, this move was definitely a huge step in the right direction.
Yes, it's a move you have to make.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's a risk. Yes, but it's a risk worth taking and all of that. So. I'm not concerned in that regard. Like, I know they're going to have to work around that, but hell, we had that with Tyson even. That we knew, hey, you're not going to get him the whole 82 most likely.
And it's Casey Smith. He's, people say he's
one of the best trainers, if not the best trainer in the league. Yeah.
There is a risk, but as Rangers King,
well, Casey Smith,
says in the comments,
worth the effing risk. Yeah. With Casey Smith in the case of Tyson Chandler, it was actually Casey who told Dallas to go get him and said, no, you need to look at this guy, and I'm telling you, I can keep him healthy. If you get him here, you'll be excited. You'll love what you get. Yeah. And we saw how that worked out for them. And that was basically Tyson's most effective, healthy year of his career. So, yeah, I mean, it can work out in that regard. Now, you've got a good trainer that can pair with him, and I guess they sound like they're confident in it because obviously the trade went through. So, physicals must have been passed to the degree that they expected and all of that.
Now, what's your opinion based on your ginormous basketball knowledge? The fact that Kristaps Porzingis, it's been said that he's not going to play a game this year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit. So the word is that Porzingis, which it was said so quickly after the trade was announced, before it was even finalized, that he's already told the Mavericks he's only going to sign a qualifying offer. And what I hate about that, now a qualifying offer, to be clear, that's the Nerlens situation. He turned down 4 for $70, thank God. And that was we laughed him out of the building for that just because he'll never make that money back. Yeah. Like, I mean, he's on a vet minimum in OKC as a backup. Yeah, and he'll never get that kind of money again. But with Porzingis' case, we're talking about roughly 4.7 million, I think, if he did take the qualifying offer. And what he would be leaving on the table is something at minimum like a 4 or 5 year deal worth like a minimum $135,000 or sorry, $1 million, $1,000. Yes, let's do that. 4 year, $135K. Woo! $135 million dollars in that case that he would be leaving on the table. It would be unprecedented for a guy to leave that on the table coming off an ACL for a 1 year bet on yourself thing. It could happen, sure, and especially in today's NBA it's more likely now than ever, but that still would put it at like a less than 5% chance. I think
that's still a huge
risk. Too much money. We know he idolizes Dirk. We know that he's super cool with Luka. And has an admiration for Luka as well. So I don't worry about that. I really don't. Now, regarding whether or not he actually plays this year, Cuban's already said it's doubtful he plays this year. I personally think that he's trying to under-promise, over-deliver. That's not to say guaranteed he does play. He might not. But I think that they're leaving the door open to... Because before, he was initially said, like, oh, he's out until at least March 1st. Okay, a little over a month at the time the trade went down. Basically a month. Okay, cool. I can accept that. But what would have happened if March 1st rolled around? They're like, oh, not ready yet. We're going to bump it back again. People would immediately be like, oh, no, it's been 14 whatever months since the trade. Is this mean something's decisions wrong. Whereas if you set the bar now and say, hey, for various reasons, not the least of which is just being careful with him, not rushing him back, making sure he's truly 100%. And, they wouldn't say this because Cuban learned his lesson last year, I think. Don't mention the word tanking, but somewhere I think that's in their mind that, like, hey, we're not mathematically eliminated from that 5th pick potentially, which I think they might as well be because they're 7 games ahead of the 5th worst record. And all those teams are in full tank mode. So I don't see you catching. Well, now they won another game, so at least 8. You're not catching anyone at this point. So I just view it as he's trying to under-promise so he could potentially over-deliver. Because, we're like, oh, yeah, free agents will want to come here to Dallas because you got Luka, which we know the crazy stuff Luka's doing. Another insane stat line. Last night, 35, 10, and 6, I think is what it was.
He was playing with the Cavaliers yesterday. It was
funny.
He was taking step back 3-point.
He was mad
threes from beyond.
Oh, yeah. And he was mad he got called, that a foul was called on that nutmeg that he pulled off because he was like, I was like just to the cool part.
I would be mad too. I'm like, no, you don't need to call everything, chill.
Yeah, I was like, I just got to the cool part. Come on. But
saucy.
So we know Luka's going to be a draw for anyone to come play with, but it's like, hey, Luka and Porzingis. Well, you lose part of that advantage if Porzingis doesn't even play this year. Like, are you going to be able to tell guys, hey, but you also can play with Luka and Porzingis. By the way, you're not going to see Porzingis before making this decision if you buy into that. And before that deal we were considered to be like, okay, well, they got Luka, that's something at least, but they don't feel super close. If Porzingis takes the court at all this year and even looks partly like he should, like we're told he should, then that's huge for recruiting and all of that. And if he did, on the chance he did take the qualifying offer, that just gives Dallas more flexibility.
I saw that comment, man.
By the way, I always like these streams most when you guys are together. Yeah.
Let me tell you a story about my best friend. Anyway, so, man, it's a lot of exciting stuff. We're going to talk about Tim Hardaway Jr. a little later. A lot to be excited about, guys.
Some stuff that surprised you.
Yeah. Once again, Darreck and his enormous basketball brain and logs full of numbers and stuff to freaking just explain how, life has meaning and stuff like that. Where he's
talk about overpromise.
Exactly. So we're gonna educate you guys, and you guys are excited about Tim Hardaway. We're about to make you even more excited. Damn it. But yeah, we were talking about this a little bit before in regards to what the Mavericks kind of their goal with this trade. We kind of, I don't want to say the whole goal of going to the playoffs is kind of we put it in the back burner. But now we're It's almost
it wasn't really there anyway.
I know, but whatever. But so basically, the visual is we're looking at this like a springboard. So we're kind of going back, and now we're going to spring to next season, where it's like that making the playoffs should even be.
Next year, next year, bare minimum. And even then, I would say it's a disappointment if you only make the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it shifted the window that far.
Exactly. The window is open a lot longer now and a lot sooner. So the rebuild process is almost kind of at an end. I don't want to say at an end, but we're a lot further along to where, we can probably contend for a championship in maybe 2 years. So anyway... but what kind of the Mavericks' goal should be for the rest of the season is showcasing Luka. And with the news that maybe Porzingis is not playing for the rest of the year, it kind of hurts in the fact that we're trying to draw free agents to come. Hey, we're going to be playing with Luka. We're playing with Kristaps, with KP. Y'all want to come here. Y'all want to join the Magic because it's going to be fun. And we're going to win lots of games. And we basically... Luka's Magic, though. But without KP, we kind of lose that leverage a little bit. But I think Luka can probably whip up some magic to get some looks here from some pretty big name people to look forward to. And we're going to go over that a little bit later. Some people that the Mavericks should possibly target here in the next couple of days. We have, 4 days? 4 days to the trade deadline, so Thursday?
Yeah. All right. 4 days. I think it's the 7th,
Yeah, so after that, I know you've been hearing some things that might go down.
It sounds like things might be kind of brewing again in that regard, which it's a little vague as to who it could be.
But it's always going to be vague dealing with the
Mavericks. You're never going to get certainties. They go out of their way to avoid people like Woj getting the insight on stuff. That's why the Porzingis thing came out of nowhere. Yeah. It was like within an hour of hearing that it was
hilarious how they were like, oh, it looks like the San Antonio Spurs, those looks like 5 other teams are interested in KP. Oh, he's been traded to the Mavericks.
Yeah. It's being finalized.
Like, wait a minute.
And who broke it? It was Stein, right?
So, exactly.
It was like, they go out of their way. It's like the Mavericks have a little vendetta against Woj. Like, you're too in the know. We gotta humble you a little bit.
If you remember, it was 2 years ago, the year that the Mavericks were trading or drafting Dennis Smith, when literally Woj was calling out all the picks like 3 minutes before the picks even went down.
Yeah.
And we get the tweet that like Cuban has like threatened to fire anybody that breaks the news of who they're drafting to Woj. So it was like, I remember I was super excited because I was such a Dennis Smith fan. I was like, who they drafted? And I was like, F the coverage. I'm looking at Twitter. Like, Twitter is my NBA draft. And then I saw that. I was like, crap, who they drafted? And so I had to freaking run to the TV. And once they did, I was like, let's go.
I see some people calling out the big free agent they're hoping we still make a run at or trade, which is still possible. The man.
The V?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
The envy.
The envy. Oh.
The envy of all free agency.
Coming with a European big three. Anyway,
okay.
So let's talk about some of the other pieces that we got. So we actually got some pretty good pieces along with KP in this trade. Contracts probably not the best.
That you said yourself. We were willing to take back a lot of bulk salary, which basically for the moment kills any of that salary we had available for next year, because we were looking at having at least like I think it was like 60 to 70 million, and this deal wipes it out. But that's what put it over the top. The Knicks didn't even do their due diligence in terms of talking to the whole league and scouting out everything, because their plan was to jettison the money.
They just wanted and
they were like, thing. "Oh, you'll take the bad contracts? Take it."
They just wanted them off the books.
Yeah.
So as soon as they got an offer, it's like, we will take back these expiring contracts and get rid of our bad contracts. We'll take it. We don't need to look.
But to be clear, with the case of a couple of these pieces, they're big contracts and they're less than ideal. But they're good ads in the same case. Tim Hardaway Jr. in particular, we've been pretty high on him for a couple of years. So, I mean, even at the start of the year when they played at Dallas, which we were both at that game. That was rough.
Yeah, it was rough. But let's kind of go over his numbers. I know he was averaging somewhere around 19 points.
Salute Cowboys X Factor, calling out my collaboration with Sports Fury already.
Yeah, it was. I saw some footage.
Oh, he's seen the test footage. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh,
no, you have.
Oh, yeah, I've seen the test footage. It looks really good. And what I've seen, I don't think it's even made it to the.
No, it's still kept unlisted.
Yeah, so.
It's only for
a treat, people.
Yeah.
Is my hairline receding? Anyway,
that's weird.
That'll be news to me.
I mean, you don't ever want to put blood in the water for them to see, like, am I going bald?
Yeah, exactly.
I had my hair parted in the first video I did, like a hard part on the hair, and someone's like, "You going bald?" I was like, "You shut your mouth."
What up, Cowboys X Factor? Yes, I do like the trade. Definitely, it springboards the Mavericks to a championship contender very soon if we play our cards right. But anyway, Tim, you want to get into some information that's really cool, but I want to set the stage.
All right,
so Tim Hardaway definitely started out the season very scoring very well, but we have to know that his numbers were inflated because they don't have KP, and so they pretty much forced Tim Hardaway Jr. to be the number one scoring option on the Knicks. So we're looking at him. He's probably averaging, he's averaging around 19 points a game. Last year he averaged 17 points per game. Very good player. He can shoot. I think he's shooting around 35% from three, which is pretty good. That's about where West was shooting at. But Derek, hit him up with the stat you hit me up with. So this is something to be really excited about.
So one big change in Hardaway Jr.'s game this year is he's been very efficient in the pick and roll, and that's one thing that makes him even better for complementing the Mavericks. I think I saw this first on Mavs.com earlier. This was a couple days ago, but it was basically talking about how This year, he's accounted for nearly 30% of his offensive possessions, like the pick-and-roll handling situation. He's been incredible in those situations, ranking 9th in scoring efficiency out of 51 players who have used at least 200 possessions as the pick-and-roll ball handler this year. To give that context, that's ahead of guys like Durant, Curry, Kemba Walker, and Bradley Beal this year. Going a little bit further with that then, as far as how efficient he is in pull-up jumpers off the pick-and-roll action as well, it's more efficient than guys like James Harden, Devin Booker, and Kyrie Irving, according to Synergy.
Boom.
So that's an element of his game that he has really developed this season under Fizdale. We got to give the Knicks coach a little credit there, former Spoelstra assistant in Miami. That's one element of his game that I think made him. I always thought he would have been a pretty good fit here, but the contract kind of kept me away. And it's still not a great contract, but now with this kind of development in his game, I think now he's a great fit.
Yeah, I'll have to agree. Maybe he can add a little bit. I'm not sure about his playmaking ability in terms of seeing the open man and passing, because the one thing I'm afraid of is for Luka to have to do the 100% of the heavy lifting in terms of playmaking for the team. Yeah. So if Luka's not on the floor, you will see our offensive efficiency go down dramatically, and that's something I don't want to see. That was some of the beauty of what we saw when we were staggering his and Dennis Smith's numbers. Yeah, we weren't as efficient offensively when Dennis Smith was the playmaker, but it wasn't as bad as if we have absolutely nobody. And you don't want Luka, as good as Luka is with the ball, the beauty of having multiple playmakers is the best defender has to be on Luka. Yeah. So now you can have another efficient ball handler being guarded by someone who isn't as good as the person who's guarding Luka. So we're having another good playmaker being guarded by an inferior defender. So, which can open up things for everybody as well.
Let me ask you this, because I've seen people talk about this, and I just saw Rangers King mention it in the comments too. Do you think Hardaway Jr. can be the next Monte Ellis for us?
I mean, his game is not the same.
It's not the game. It's not the same. He's not a slasher.
Yeah, talking about production-wise, yeah. Who's to say it can't be? Just looking at how he was scoring, he was definitely scoring
a lot of pick and rolls though.
A lot of pick and rolls. A lot of,
two-man game with Dirk.
Let's be real too. Tim Hardaway Jr. His shot selection is not.
He'll put up shots. He'll get his shots.
It's not the greatest.
It can be a little volume at times.
Probably.
But I think that's part of what makes him great. If they let him occasionally work more with the second unit.
He's a type of dude that if he gets hot, he's gonna get real hot, and he's gonna let you know that he's hot. But we might have times that he's not as hot, and it might be just as bad, if not worse, than when Wes.
Oh, you're talking about Wes when
he was jacking up
trigger
shots.
Happy, yeah.
Well,
we'll see on that. I think he could have a similar type impact, especially because, like we talked about, the pick and roll, the two-man game. I think he can have a similar type of impact in that, but I think the Mavericks are headed towards another shift still before the deadline in terms of what the roster looks like. Do you want to, before I go into that, do you want to touch at all on the other pieces? Trey Burke, you mentioned particularly.
Trey Burke. I was actually going to ask if you want to answer some questions. I'm seeing a lot of questions on the thing before we get
Sure. Let's take a couple questions here.
I'm going to save the juicy stuff for that.
Right.
You have some juicy stuff that we want to get into at the end.
Let's see here.
Start with, I know they asked me a couple of questions up top, but it's Mike, if I like to trade, which I answer that. Yes, I like to trade, but let's go.
Clay Thompson, a good fit, asks Adam Proctor. Great fit, of course, but I don't think you're gonna get him, honestly. Yeah. I think he's probably sticking with Golden State, and if he does leave, I don't know that Dallas is his preferred destination. I would assume that super team breaks up because I think KD leaves. I think KD, now that he's got his titles and
KD leaves, and
I think he'll look at it as, now I want to go win one by myself, so people will start treating me as a more serious champion.
Exactly.
So I think KD will be what breaks up that team, and then I don't know, Draymond. Boogie's always been a 1-year thing.
Yeah. Who else?
Sports Fury collaboration.
What if KP doesn't want to stay in Dallas? You're screwed then. Okay, so
I mentioned this earlier. He idolizes Dirk, and he has huge admiration for Luka. When he was rehabbing his knee, the Knicks. This is last year after he had his surgery. The Knicks thought he was in his home country, and he was actually with Real Madrid rehabbing with them. Where Luka, 18 years old, was really starting to like break out as like, dude, I think this kid's gonna go into the NBA draft, and this is someone you got to look out for. So that's been there. The groundwork has been laid. I mean,
and to be real, man, Donnie and Cuban, they're smart guys.
If there's one franchise that understands international players, it's probably the Mavericks or Spurs.
They wouldn't make this trade if they didn't feel they had a good shot at keeping.
And think about how low the bar has to be too, because we know the Knicks are a train wreck, the worst record in the league since 2001. So that's a huge sample size, nearly 2 decades.
Exactly.
And like I said, 4 head coaches in his 3 years that he was there. I know he was obviously there this year, but he didn't play. So 4 head coaches in his time, 2 team presidents. No stabilizing force at all for them,
which is not good for any player
Dallas
trying to develop.
Dallas by just default will look better and more stable. So mix that with his feelings towards Dirk and Luka. I'm not really concerned of him leaving.
And if everything happens like it's supposed to, we're gonna probably win a lot more games than the Knicks are. So stability mixed with winning, mixed with a good environment with people that he actually likes, equals most likely staying. Do we feel like Bennett Smith? He asked. Oh wait, sorry.
What was Bennett?
Actually, can't catch him. No, can't catch him. That's a good question.
You guys even a little nervous at all about giving up 2 first-round picks in the next 4 years? Really, 3 in the next 5. Okay. On that front, I look at the history of the Mavericks under Cuban. They've never taken the draft seriously, ever. Josh Howard's the 1 first-round pick that they really gave any burn under Cuban until
Devin Harris too.
But that was a trade.
Oh, never mind.
Because they sent Walker for the trade because Washington technically drafted Harris.
Anton Walker?
Yeah,
good trade.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But yes, if you want to talk about a rookie getting experience, yes.
So,
Devin Harris and Josh Howard, that's really it. And they were dragged kicking and screaming into this rebuild anyway. So the last 2 years now, really year and a half to this point, they've been forced to embrace the draft and really give it
the Mavericks are
due diligence.
They're really good in turn if they're at the top. But if they're in the mid,
they're pretty good at finding veterans and what they call fallen angels. Those guys who are
that's where the Mavericks
low
are
stock, but Jerry Stackhouse was a great example of that early on. Monte was one of those as well.
It was a very good one.
Yeah.
So I mean, in terms of
Raymond Felton.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
In terms of drafting in the later end of the round, the Mavericks are not very good. I mean, names like Maurice Ager comes to mind. Super trash.
Shane Larkin instead of
Shane Larkin.
Kelly Olynyk or Giannis.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Roddy B.
I get what he's saying though, because it is essentially 5 first rounders in a sense invested in just these 2 guys. Because you gave up 2 for Luka, and then for KP you gave up 2 in the deal, but you also traded 1. So I mean we're talking 5 first rounders invested in 2 guys in a sense. I get it. But I'm telling you, with our track record, they were never thinking about those picks anyway. Exactly. Ever.
Once they're getting good, they're like, no.
That's why there were reports when they were making the deal for Luka, claiming that they nixed the idea that would have sent Kent Bazemore and Wes Matthews instead of Dallas's next year number 1 with a top 5 protection.
Yeah.
Now I've heard counter to that as well that said the Hawks actually nixed that, but I've heard more reports saying the Mavericks nixed it and decided we don't care about next year's draft pick. We know we want this guy, and we think Wes as an expiring contract could still be something. And hey, part of the Porzingis trade.
Yep. It's all at the end of the day. It's all about talent acquisition. There's more than one route. I know we've hit on those last couple of
basically answered this question too right there.
We've hit on the last couple of drafts, so everyone feels a lot better about the drafts than we have in the past.
Shout out Connor Mitchell. I kind of just answered your question, but I was just giving you a shout out for the question. Talking about all the draft picks we mortgaged and all the money we just ate up.
Yeah. I think he had another question about about the Barnes trade, but we're gonna hit that at the end. That'll be the last thing we talk about because there's some pretty good stuff.
Antonio, he's gonna be another Chandler Parsons. Street clothes on the bench. Who? Porzingis?
I think he's probably talking about Porzingis.
I mean, for this year, sure. But, I mean, Parsons had multiple surgeries on the same knee.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I'm not worried about that. And 23 versus Parsons already being 26 at the time, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about that, but well, whatever. Oh, no, Parsons was like 25 when he came, regardless.
How would we feel about trading Barnes and Powell for Dragic and a bunch of expirings? They could have put $15 million going on from Barnes, Dragic, and clearing Powell as well.
Well, we know the Luka Dragic connection there.
Mm-hmm.
Same team,
Gosh,
obviously.
You guys are just freaking making this team Europe. Like, I get it. Good players I don't care where they're from, but
we have mixed feelings on that. I think
different feelings.
So the Mavericks are already tied for the NBA record for most international players on a single roster with 8. They're tied with the 2013 championship Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't honestly care where a guy's from, but I totally get what a lot of people are saying.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily correct, but that's down to people's opinions. That it's a bad look when paired with the Cuban comments earlier this year regarding AAU culture and mixtape culture and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I don't think Cuban was making a racist comment.
No.
But I get why, in context, followed by all these international player moves, people are trying to draw some kind of line.
Yeah.
If Cuban was...
It makes lines easier to draw.
If we didn't have this long of a history with Cuban,
mm-hmm.
I would be like... That's kind of suspicious, but I mean, we're talking like 2 decades basically as owner, almost 2 decades. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna say the record overall is not suggesting that, but I get the perception that some people from the outside or maybe more casual fans even could have with that regard. But I'm not worried about that. Regarding Dragic,
that'd be a good
so let me read that again.
Off the bench.
Barnes and Powell for Dragic and a bunch of expirings. Clear $15 million from Barnes to Dragic and clearing Powell as well. Yeah.
I want to get younger too.
Dragic would be a very good for Luka's kind of, not mentorship, I mean maybe to some degree, because we know Luka really respects him a lot.
Yep.
So that would make
Dragic really respects Luka too.
Yeah. So that would make sense. I don't know if that's a move that they would be able to make, because I'm trying to think of what Miami's needs are. I think Powell and Barnes are the 2 guys. If Dallas is making another move, they're going to be the guys to go. Dallas also created a $12.9 million trade exception in the Porzingis deal, which we'll get into that more later. Would I do it? I would be curious to see the framework of what it would be. I wouldn't rule it out, but it's not what I'm actively seeking out, because as Rangers King, I see in another comment mentions, Dragic is starting to get a little bit old in that regard. And he's talking about potentially re-signing him at a cheaper deal. Yeah. I don't know. It just depends on what he would be willing to do. You got to think he'd be willing to take a little less than his market value to play with Luka. Keep playing with Luka, but I don't know. Let's see. All injury prone would love him as a Mav, though. Talking about Dragic. That's Freedom Roar. Is it true? Okay. Should we go into that now for Eddie Davis question?
Should we? Okay. We want to go in a little bit to our other pieces.
All right, Eddie Davis. I haven't forgotten your question. We're gonna cycle back.
Anybody asking about who the next potential person the Mavericks should trade for?
If Powell's on his way out, who's gonna catch Luka's lobs? Just Kleba. It says HP.
You don't think KP can catch
KP? Well, he's talking about this season, I think, because obviously you're talking about like time to develop, and they're going to change the roster a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Regarding what if they trade Dwight, what they do? Again, it's not about this season. They're going to bring in a bunch of athletes, I think, to pair with Luka in that regard. He needs 3-point shooters, and he needs a couple rim rolling assets there. I think they'll be able to.
He needs another playmaker. In my opinion.
Yeah. I think they'll be able to find that. It's just a matter of, money wise, who they can get based on that. Because now, as we've said, they've taken on a bunch of money. And a lot of that money it's not just like it's not expiring.
Yeah, it's not.
Hardaway Jr.,
Like
Courtney Lee, and Courtney Lee is another guy they picked up as well.
Yeah.
Career 38% 3-point shooter, pretty good defender.
Yep.
He's never been a great player. He has played in the finals his rookie year with Orlando. He's never been a great player, but he's always one of those guys.
He's steady.
That's on the waiver, not the waiver wire. What am I thinking of? right before the playoffs, you see a bunch of playoff teams always kind of vie for him as like a pickup off the buyout market. The buyout market, yes. He's always one of those guys.
He's always going to be on a team.
He's expressed a lot of excitement about being here in Dallas too.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like, I'm not looking for a buyout. I'm excited about this.
We're a staple.
Yeah, yeah.
And love that.
And you've got that as well. Hardaway Jr. seems to be really leaning in hard to the excitement with Dallas.
He was.
Fun fact there, if you hadn't, I mean, I know you have. If you guys haven't heard it, Dirk is now going to be the 4th player in NBA history to play in the NBA with a father and son teammate, meaning in 2001, 2002, he played with Tim Hardaway Sr., and now he will play with Tim Hardaway Jr. this year, which is pretty crazy. And I liked Dirk's reaction to that when they were telling him about it. Like, not only is this happening, but it's only the 4th time in NBA history, and he just kind of was like, that's sad.
Yeah, I expect Dirk to make some sort of comment like that. He's like, yep.
Yeah.
I'm old.
Yeah. Let's see. Costa, talking about Klay Thompson again. Again, Klay would be great. If we can get him,
it would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Backflips,
but I think, I don't know how you're going to make that work money-wise at this point, too. That's the other thing with how we've structured. Are we really thinking about bringing back Barea? I'm not even thinking about that right now. I don't think they're probably going to, but they're not going to say it. I mean, he's a free agent. He's coming off an Achilles. Mm-hmm. He's already 34 years old, and he's a little guy.
He's a little.
There's nothing working to his benefit other than his history here, and Carlisle loving him in general.
Yeah,
it might be time, but I don't think he's going to make that decision anytime soon. Let's see. We already tied last season's total, talking about wins, so I still want to improve. But come on, the future's bright. Future is very bright.
Very bright, yeah. A lot to be excited about in Mavs.
Catch and shoot, sidekick, yeah. Luka, one thing, Dallas is like the 3rd best team in the league this year in terms of unguarded shots.
Yeah.
Luka, and you've seen like the way he'll drive in and the way he looks off passes. Like he creates so much. And an unguarded pass is, I think, defined as like 4 feet of separation from the defender. I mean, it's crazy what he's able to do. And if we were a better team in terms of shooting 3-pointers, the percentage would be 3rd regardless in terms of the percentage that are there and open. But you would see so much more damage done by the offense if they could actually cash in on that at a more reliable clip. And that's why, like a Tim Hardaway and even to a lesser extent a Courtney Lee, a career 38% 3-point shooter, that's why guys like that should be able to fit pretty well. It's not just that Dallas took junk contracts. It's that they're looking at it and they're like, they can fit actual roles with us as well.
Exactly.
It's not like how many times did you see the freaking Keith Van Horn contract get where he'd be included in a deal knowing he was the buyout. And he didn't even play the last 2 years. His contract was floating around the league.
He's probably like staying at home. They just tell him what team I'm playing on.
He was part of the Jason Kidd trade.
Yeah.
And he hadn't played in like a couple years.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, can't catch him. Yes, smash the like button, everyone.
Appreciate that, Kent.
Yeah. I don't know what the drop frame rate is here, but I can throw this out. Oh, no, you're covered.
Oh, Jesus. God.
There it is. Hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell, all that jazz. Someone has thought maybe Porzingis can play this season. So,
there's a lot of people coming out saying that he's
the New York,
essentially cleared.
Yeah, and that was sources in New York too, saying that. Because there are things like that. Like we talked about it. Fizdale would say like, "Oh, he's not even to the point where he's running yet," and then he would post an Instagram photo like in a dead sprint. Now a dead sprint is not cutting, so it's not saying like, "Oh, he's ready."
If you guys don't know, which everyone should, because if you watch sports,
he is
as much as
throwing some subtle shade out there.
Oh yeah, but in terms of ACL doesn't really hurt straight line speed a lot. It helps lateral movement. That's what he used to cut. So, but when what's his nuts said that he was at a point where he couldn't run, Fizdale, say he couldn't run, and
I'm always thrown off by what's his nuts. Like, how is that the distinction by which you recognize a person?
I had a good friend.
What's his face? Is what most people would say. You're like, I know that set of nuts anyway.
Anyway.
Hold the show together on the rails.
We were talking about. Fizdale said that he couldn't run, and then he posted a photo on Instagram when he was at a dead spread. He's been throwing shit at New York ever since he left, saying that we will soon know the truth, and
the truth will come out.
Better,
the city
like
deserves
that.
better.
Stay woke,
yeah,
New York. Yeah, stuff like
stay
that.
woke. Yeah, all that. And I get it. A lot of it's shot at the ownership. I don't think he has a problem with Fizdale. I think Fizdale is just having to kind of toe a certain line he's being given by the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll see what comes out of that. I'm not terribly worried regarding him recovering, because the thing is, 7'3", his biggest asset is his ability to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Guy shot like nearly 40% from 3 last year. Because of his length, he still averaged like 2.4 blocks.
Yep.
Rebounding has always been a little bit of a weird thing for him. 7'3", he only grabbed 6.7 boards last year.
Because he's 7'3" and only 240. He needs to put more muscle. He still gets knocked around from time to time.
He needs to, yeah. Well, he'll have to do something with that regard. And he also averaged like 22.7 points, I want to say.
Yeah.
So, and that was all heavy lifting last year for the Knicks.
Yeah, basically being the only.
right. Having to
the
do everything,
guy,
yeah.
Exactly.
But we'll see. Let's see. How about we bring Kostas in to catch a few of Luka's lobs? By the way, for the record, guys, if you have a question, if you tag at the Dallas Prospect, it'll highlight it nice and orange for me to see, and it'll catch the eye like I already snapped, but... Probably freaking out the mic with that.
I know, right?
R.I.P. headphone users. As we're like right here in front of the mic.
My ears.
But yeah, I don't know if Porzingis plays this year. I think it's possible.
Let's hope for the best.
I just think they're trying not to overpromise.
Yeah. How about we bring up Kostas to catch lobs?
Kostas, I would like to see Kostas get a burn. The one move
Golly!
that pissed me off.
I don't.
It happened in the Porzingis acquisition.
Casualty.
Just out of nowhere, waive Ray Spalding.
He was on the trip too.
Yeah. They called him up, but then they deleted it. Did you see that? They announced he was being called up. It was the Legends that announced it, that he was being called up, and then later that day, that tweet was deleted.
Unbelievable.
So they waived Ray Spalding,
and they kept Salah.
That's what I don't get, because I'm looking at it. I'm like, look, I know there was.
Salah's like in his 30s.
Yeah.
He's 20.
And he never plays.
Yeah, he never.
At least last year he had a role on the team. He doesn't play, so I don't get it. And I've heard but Salah's tight with Luka.
I don't care.
Yeah, we just gave Luka Porzingis. You can give him a slight disappointment.
Oh man, but hey, Porzingis.
Yeah, man, Ray Spalding, he's got to be a commodity for someone to pick up off waiver wire. If not, Dallas, I don't care what you got to do. Figure out a way to get him back on the team. If he somehow clears waivers.
Yeah, I think he did. He might have. I haven't.
Wow.
Let me look.
That's surprising too, because I saw Oklahoma City Thunder people talking about him as a prime.
I might have made a gaffe.
OKC Thunder people were talking about him as because they have a couple roster spots now open, and they were saying if you're looking at someone to fill that roster spot, this is what you need to look at. We are very high on Ray Spalding, but. Yeah, he's a casualty for whatever reason instead of Salah Mejri, and that is what it is. As for Kostas being the guy we call up, I would like to see that. I still think he's raw, but you know what? For an end of the bench guy that just gives a little bit of athletic kind of injection into the game, I wouldn't mind that.
I wouldn't mind that too.
A guy who I really miss. We haven't really had a guy to fill quite that role. Brendan Wright.
Good times.
I miss that guy that was just the rim runner off the bench and just gave you so much hustle and all that. I mean, he wasn't a great defender, but
he was good.
He was blocks. Yes, he could get some blocks for sure. That was a casualty of the the Rondo trade. But I would very much like to have a guy like that. I think Kostas could provide a little bit of that if you brought him up now, but. We'll see. Kostas is still pretty rail thin. Let's see here. Someone Porzingis play this season.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
Haven't seen anything on Spalding being picked up. Maybe Ranger King might have already called that out. Let's see. Someone tell me why Barnes wasn't traded. We still got time, Terry. Or Trey. Sorry.
Yeah,
Trey, okay.
It's going to be hard to move that.
He's got a player option worth like $25 million next year, and he's going to opt in because he's not going to get that much money in a single season again. I don't think. Not for what he's shown. He hasn't really.
I think he's regressed. He's gotten better.
His percentages are better, but his points have dropped off every season he's been in Dallas. This year, there's a little bit of an explanation with that with Luka. Mm-hmm. Last year, there was not that explanation. By the way, shout out to all 76 of you in the house I see here.
What's up, y'all?
But yeah, I don't think he's going to get that, and he's like 1.2 assists a game. He can't create for anybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think Barnes is going to get that money. So I think he opts in, and I think that's going to make it tough to move. Just like we couldn't move West last year. We tried. We couldn't. No one would take him for what we deemed an appropriate return. And hey, it's a good thing they held on to him for one more year.
Exactly.
If nothing else, just to be the salary you pushed out the door to make the Porzingis deal work.
Yep.
Comment and giving credence by recent moves and some. Yeah, we already addressed that. Don't even want to take that contract though. He's following up on the Barnes thing.
Let's go ahead and talk about the other pieces that we got.
Income tax is non-existent. State income tax is non-existent. HP. He was talking about how it's lower in Texas. There is no state income tax in Texas.
Players can take less in Texas
because they keep more of their money. There's no state income tax in Texas
or
Miami. Because look at that. I was just saying that. Connor was already on top of it.
Yeah, appreciate you, Connor. But let's go ahead and touch on some of the other guys that we got.
All right, so moves that we might. Oh wait, you said other guys we got, so you want to talk about?
Let's talk about.
We already kind of mentioned Courtney Lee. You want to talk about Trey Burke? I know you had some thoughts on Burke.
I'm excited about Trey Burke, y'all. I think he could be a good addition to the team. I might say some blasphemy, so if you don't agree with me, cut me some slack, okay? At this moment in time, or Wednesday when we play our first game with these guys, and when eventually they get more acclimated on the team, I will prefer to have Trey Burke playing more than Jalen Brunson. I'm sorry. All right, Trey Burke has already had games where he's put up 30 points already. He's already a proven scorer. He has some, and it's fairly. If I can pull up his numbers real quick.
He's averaging like 12 points a game this year, right?
Yeah.
But we've said it's on a bad Knicks team, so that's kind of inflated.
Slightly inflated, but I see he's very good off the pick and roll. He has a good pull-up game. I mean, this is stuff that, the Mavericks need. Jalen's getting better. Don't get me wrong. I love Jalen Brunson. Big shot Brun is what I call him. But seeing from what I've seen from... What?
I just was thinking like you're like Big Shot Brun, and I was like thinking of it in my head like, yeah, Jalen Brunson, I call him. Like just repeating the same thing. I don't know why that popped into my head, but it just tripped me up for some reason. I can't explain everything that goes on in here.
Who's Burke? I was like, yeah.
You talking about Trey Burke, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, he has a good pull-up game. He has some. I'm trying to pull up his numbers.
Trey Burke, I call him.
Yeah, Trey Burke. All right, so he's 11.8 points a game, about 3 assists per game.
Yeah.
He's shooting 35% from 3. Oh, yeah, another good thing with all these guys, they're actually shooting free throws. We're pretty good. Over 80%. Which
it's nice. We could use that.
Exactly.
We're not such a great free throw shooting team.
Nope.
And DeAndre was one of our better guys this year.
Yeah, exactly.
I know he leveled out a little bit as it went on, but yeah.
As some of our scout people, the term that they love to say is regress to the mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely regressed to the mean. He started like at 84 at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Now he's like at 70.
Yeah, 71 or something.
Yeah.
Regarding Trey Burke, Dallas was really high on him in the draft a few years ago when he was coming obviously out of Michigan, and it didn't obviously work out. Who did he get drafted by?
Utah Jazz.
Utah, and then he went from there to the Knicks. Was there one more stop?
Well, I think
because I know the Thunder nearly got him. He agreed to a deal with the Thunder, and then he went to the Knicks instead. He backed out.
He didn't want to play for the Thunder because he was not going to get a lot of burn with the Thunder.
Not behind Russ. No.
Yeah, so he actually wanted to play for the Knicks D League team.
Okay.
And so he got some burn. He got around 30 minutes. Did well with a D League team. He got eventually moved up to the Knicks team. That's where he turned up last year. Turned up a little bit this year. And got traded. So I mean, we're seeing a lot of good things. People were calling him like the not the next Allen Iverson, but he's kind of like an Allen Iverson, especially when he was sporting the cornrows. People are saying, "Oh, he's the answer" and stuff like that. I'm not saying
that's all I got to do to be the next Allen Iverson.
Basically, yeah.
DDP coming on here with cornrows.
The answer, son. Give me the ball and watch what I do with it. But yeah, I mean,
the answer is no.
Exactly. So I mean, he's a good player. 34%, 35% 3-point shooter. Okay. Very quick. Good ball handler, of course. Can shoot. Basically, score at all three levels. So I mean, I'm excited about him. He's gonna be wearing number 23 for the Mavs. So I'm good. Okay. Who else we got? Courtney Lee. Courtney Lee, we talked a little bit about him.
38% 3-point shooter. Always a guy picked up at the buyout market.
Yeah, D and 3. Excited by him. Those are the type of guys that are always going to find his way. He's a little older though. Courtney Lee's about
33, 34, something like that.
But we did get younger.
Yep.
Tim Hardaway's 26.
Yeah, 26. That's what I like about him too. Is I still feel like he's got
so is Trey Burke.
More to grow.
Yeah,
Burke's also 26.
I think they both played on Michigan together too.
Yeah, they did. Someone mentioned that earlier.
Yeah,
which I forgot that they were teammates at Michigan. I just knew both came from there. I wasn't even thinking about it.
There you go.
So yeah, some familiarity there for sure.
All right.
Let's see.
For the good stuff.
Can't catch him. Hold on. Anybody miss DeAndre? No. No, we were down on DeAndre for a long time. I miss having a guy that could get 15 boards. Yeah. I don't miss anything else about his game.
Okay, hold on. If DeAndre
Subpar
Jordan,
defensive effort?
No.
For $23 million?
If DeAndre Jordan said, I want to come back to the Mavericks for $12? $13? No. $12 million?
No.
Something cheap like that.
No, because then you're giving him minutes and he's still not going to try on defense.
But we already have a shot blocker in KP. KP can play 4. DeAndre can play 5. KP is 7'3" and only averaging 6 rebounds a game. We don't want to be like how we used to be.
You got to get a rebound. You have to get a rebounder, which is why we're going to get into some of these other names. My answer, no. His answer is it can be worked on.
I'm talking about like last. If all these names we're about to throw out doesn't pan out, I wouldn't mind because I don't think DeAndre's the type of dude. I'm hearing stuff that he might go to the Lakers next year. Whatever. But I don't think that's
he'll be the new Boogie in Golden State.
Fountain maker. But anyway, I mean, I don't think he's going to be signed fairly early in free agency.
Probably not.
I think we'll have some time to have some.
Rangers King, did you see the Tim Hardaway Jr. uninterrupted fish and chips video?
No.
I did not, no.
What happened?
I did not see it. If you got it, Rangers King, shoot me the link on Twitter and I'll take a look at it. But I have not seen it yet. I'd be interested in checking that out. The best thing, sometimes I get close to the bottom of the comment and a new one comes in and it like takes it away from where I was on the scroll.
Okay, are we going to that now?
Are
we going to answer more questions?
Hold on, I'm just skimming through to make sure I've hit all the main.
And by the way, we're looking at this to what
everyone picked up on that highlight. Tag me.
Yeah, post
expectations on what might be brewing. Okay, so yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Who would win 1-on-1, DDP or Enyi?
What? 1-on-1 and what? 1-on-1 and what? Basketball?
Yeah.
Talking about a man who has no knees. This guy.
Yeah, I have no knees.
I can beat him. I don't care. I don't care if he has knees.
Do we need to go back to high school? Do we need to relive those days of 1-on-1?
That's funny. I mean, I'm a lot better than I was in high school.
I can still knock down the J.
I can still knock down the J. And I got the, good D?
He's referencing a text conversation I was having with someone the other day. Breathe.
Sorry.
Text conversation I was having with someone the other day. They are a Thunder fan, and they were talking about Terrence Ferguson, how much better he's been as of late. Mm-hmm. They were talking about like his 3-point shooting and like how impressed they are. And they were like, plus his D is really nice. And I just sent them back that same text in quotations with like a face, and they were like, oh crap, like they realized what they'd said. I told him that's why he's dying laughing. And he's like, I can take the D. Like, okay.
Whoa, I never said that. Whoa, pause. I've never said that. Unbelievable.
Why are you the way that you are?
All right. Back to what we were talking about.
But yes, the answer is DDP would win that. Moving on. So
believe what you want to believe.
Let's see. Okay, trade deadline. Let's jump into that here. So, what might be brewing still at the trade deadline? We've seen some mention of this. Rangers King just sent me that link. Thank you. We've seen some mention of something still might be brewing for the Mavericks. I still think that they are going to look to add another big man. Not just the obvious name that everyone's talking about, and that's obviously, for me, that's one that I'm really interested in. You're interested. I don't know if it's as high of an interest for you. We'll get into that.
For other reasons, but yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever, when the Dennis thing initially came down, they wanted to deal for Mo Bamba. They tried. Orlando, Dallas had no leverage at the time because Dennis was very publicly away from the team.
We just needed 4 games.
Yeah. And so, but Orlando wouldn't do that trade.
Yeah.
So it worked out for Dallas that Orlando was like, we need more for Bamba. What do you mean? He hasn't played and he's a rookie.
Yeah,
like, you're not even playing him on Orlando. So yeah, that went nowhere.
Yeah.
But that shows to me that they are thinking big man. They are thinking a guy that can presumably help with rebounding and shot blocking, things like that. And so now the word is that they're going to, if not by the deadline, then certainly this offseason. I've heard more talk about it being in the offseason, but they could get into that market now. Nikola Vucevic from Orlando. So we're talking about an all-star caliber player. So we're talking about an all-star caliber player. I mean, he's already made the all-star team once.
Yep.
This year. Yep. So you're talking about an all-star in the East who's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Now, I mentioned earlier that when the Mavericks made the Porzingis trade, it opened up it created a $12.9 million trade exception for Dallas.
It did.
There are a list of guys, and I'll pull that back up, that fit rather nicely into that exception that's been created.
Go
now,
ahead.
in this
Give me that
case,
list of people.
well, I got to pull it back up first. But man, that sounds really bad on the heels of our previous comments.
You the pull-out king?
I'm trying. No kids yet. Only going further down that rabbit hole.
Yep.
Anyway, so there are several guys that would fit well for the Mavericks, one of which is Vucevic. That would be if you were to acquire him now, then you already have the rights. I know he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, but again, gives you a chance to let him play with Luka. You don't have to worry about as much competition that way. And you've got the ability with the trade. Yes. You've got, yes.
Sorry. Keep going.
And you have the ability then with the trade exception to get him now at his current deal. So there's a benefit in that. And let me read off some of these other names here. Here you go. Some of the other names that $12.9 million trade exception would fit that for this year. Kimball Walker. Let's see here. We got Solomon Hill, Tony Snell, Exum, Fultz, your boy Dougie McBuckets. Willie Cauley-Stein.
Imagine having him and Brokoff. Just freaking Luka just throwing no-look passes.
Yeah.
Buckets for everybody. Anyway.
Nice. Kelly Olynyk and Dion Waiters. Let's see here.
Norman
Powell. Who did I miss? I missed someone on here. Oh, how do you say his name again? Why am I blanking on that?
Nicola?
No, not Vucevic. I'm talking about the third guy on this list.
I think his name is Nikola as well.
Oh. All right, so how do you say his last name again?
Mirotic.
There you go. I was blanking on how to actually pronounce the name. Yes, Mirotic is also another one of those guys. Of that list, I think Vucevic is probably a good fit, but...
That's right.
Nikola, there you go. But the kind of difficulty created in that, you'd be using that trade exception. I know people want to deal Barnes and maybe even Powell. And in that, there are two teams that Dallas is... It's not said who those two teams are, but there are two teams Dallas is expected to discuss moving those players to. I don't know who those teams are, so I can't begin to lay out what we could be getting in return.
Could be Orlando. Could be Sacramento.
Dallas, like I said, it's been reported Dallas is expected to go after Vucevic this offseason.
Okay.
But there is benefit in getting him now, and I think you can get him now. And if you're already forsaking the rest of this season anyway, which, let's be real, they should, there you go. You get the guy now, you get the rights, and you get a chance to begin recruiting now. And I don't know what it would cost to keep him. I think he's a very fine player. He's a little bit more traditional of a center, but he has expanded his game outward a little bit, which is very nice. Complements well within today's NBA as opposed to guys who are purely low post and put back and things like that.
Yeah, rim runners or stretch fives.
Yeah,
he's a little mix of both.
So there is real value to going and getting him now. I think you could move if you wanted. You could use the exception, and I would try and find a way to also work in Barnes in that deal as well, because again, he's got $25 million player option next year. He's more than likely picking it up. Dallas, if you want to go get your third guy, that's a really important guy to move on from. Powell, I think, has a $10 million player option next year. So you got a chunk of money you can clear out if you move those two. That gets you a little bit more so back into the market and free agency.
I honestly think Kleber is like a better version of Powell.
I think they work well together, but
well-rounded.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, I'm picking Kleber.
Yep.
So Joey's question there, that's my expectation on what might be brewing. I think that Dallas is still going to make a move. There are rumblings that they are attempting to make some kind of move, and I think that's the one that makes the most sense for them. Other names I've heard mentioned and thrown out there that I'm not excited about are Andre Drummond. I know he just went for 24 and 20 against them, but I'm not interested in.
Not tripping. I'll take guys who can rebound. I went too long with Mavericks not being able to rebound. I'll take a guy like Andre Drummond. He can play defense a lot. He puts forth a lot better effort than DeAndre Jordan in terms of defense, and he gets rebounds. He's probably the best rebounder in the game. Pair that up with KP and Luka.
I'm not as excited about the prospect of adding him.
It's just the money. It will be tough to make it work. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing holding us back. But if you tell me we can get Andre Drummond, our starting lineup can consist of Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, and Andre Drummond, bruh. I don't care what y'all have to say.
Did I say DeAndre Drummond earlier?
It's Andre Drummond.
I know. I thought I said DeAndre, which would be a slip up on my part. Regardless, the comments will let me know. Do you know the answer to this? If the Legends can sign Spalding straight up? I don't know how that works.
I think so.
I don't follow G League closely enough to know.
I mean, they can. It will be when he's on the Legends right now. He was on as an assignment. He's not even a two-way player,
right? So
he was on there for assignment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can sign with the Legends or whatever, you sign straight up. Anybody can call him up.
Yeah.
But before it was when the Mavericks could call him up, but now
now it's
waivers
open.
And stuff
Yep.
like that. But we still have our two-way.
I'd be curious to know.
Too.
I want to hang on to him if there's a way, but This might just be like God, who's the guy last year that we were high on and they moved in the off season? Baylor kid.
He played for the Clippers.
It feels like an eternity ago somehow.
Yeah. And he played this year when we played them.
He was on the summer league team, right?
Scroll down.
Someone's probably already. Well, I brought that up, not them.
I know. Someone's probably.
What would you think about Julius Randle? We were talking earlier. He's got a player option, but he's only set to make $9 million. And if AD leaves, then New Orleans becomes much less.
I would do backflips for him.
So
he's actually expanding his game pretty far out,
which might make Dallas more interested because last year they said flat out definitively they were not even looking at him.
He wasn't based on.
He tends to cook the Mavericks too, so it'd be nice to put him on our side for once.
And he's from the Dallas Fort Worth area. I don't know why they wouldn't. But anyway, but since he expanded, I can definitely see that he's a strong dude. He might not be, tall like a KP, but he's about 6'9". Drop Kostas from the two-way.
So he's talking about dropping Kostas from the two-way, put him as a real free agent. Man, Giannis, oh my God. The idea of adding Giannis to Luka and KP, it's another international player. The greatest international team ever assembled.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Team World versus the rest of the NBA.
Exactly.
I mean, they've already got two of the three best international players in the world. Yeah. You would just be adding the best one probably at that point in Giannis.
I'll probably drop Coach.
Under 25.
I would drop Macon if that's the case.
Oh, you're gonna piss off Rangers King. Daryl Macon Bacon.
I'll be okay with that.
Who do you think's better right now, Luka or KP?
KP.
Right now, as of today, when KP's not playing yet, I'm going to take Luka.
Yeah. I'll take KP. Wait, he hasn't played.
Okay, let me put it this way:
February
if I had one guy, I had to build my franchise around. Like if I had to pick between them, I'm taking Luka.
I'm taking Luka as well.
Yes, so that's how I would answer that.
Like if I had to put a number, like an overall.
Let's see.
Like
yes, but all G League players have to have an NBA out clause. I don't even. Okay. To think that Giannis would sign with the Mavs just because we have his brother is rather naive. We tried the same thing I said before with Drew Holiday's brother.
William, let a brother dream. Come on, bro.
The pipe dream continues.
Freaking wet blanket over here.
People saying we need to trade Barnes and Powell.
Yes,
but how are we supposed to do that without any tradable first-round picks? No one wants two bad contracts with little production.
Hey.
So,
Connor, what do you mean?
I get what he's saying.
Dwight averages like 10 points.
Dwight's not the problem in that case. I don't think Dwight's the hard part to move. I think he's more so talking about Barnes. Yes, it's true we have no first-round picks. You still have guys that are moving, though, within deals. I mean, Rodney Hood just went for, 2 second-round picks?
Yeah.
I mean, second-round picks still have some value because you're having more sleepers come out in the second round moving forward these days.
I mean...
So if you were to say Barnes and,
The man averages 18 points a game. Don't just say he's trash.
And, yeah, well, sure. But you're also saying you're bringing something back in return, right? Like, if Barnes is part of a Vucevic deal and you're sending the trade exception with Barnes to help separate the difference in money, maybe Orlando sends back, a bad contract as well with it. That's just probably something you look at happening.
That's a bad contract.
Gordon? No. I don't know. Good contract. Yeah, I don't know what their roster looks like off the top of my head right now to say what that might be, but that's usually what you see.
If
so
I got Aaron Gordon, I would have been doing backflips too.
Sure.
Just because of that contract.
So with regard to how do you get that deal to work if you have no first rounders, you have to be willing to take something back that they don't want. That's always how it works.
Yep. That's how it works.
And second round picks, which we still have value. So there's a chance of something like that.
Yep.
Barnes' 3-point percentage improved because he's a top 3 in wide open threes per game. So his 3-point percentage is improved. His points per game though has gone down every season here, and I think his assists per game has also gone down every season.
It's gone down?
I think so. Yeah, from 1.7 to 1.5 to 1.2. I love Willie Cauley-Stein, so would I. I don't know how they're gonna pull that off, but that would be great. Luka plus Kristaps equals the European Union. Okay.
What was the name you saw?
Euro Step Brothers.
That'd be funny.
Did we just become best friends? Vucevic, didn't you say you don't want another Euro play? That was.
Wait.
I don't care where the guy's from. He could be from freaking Mars, and as long as he's got a good game that can help the team, I'm all for it.
Nothing against Euro players. I mean, I do freaking my favorite player in the league is Dirk Nowitzki, but I mean I don't want to just have a Euro team. Freaking Motley. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Ha! Jesus, Mary Joseph. Yeah, Jonathan Motley.
Vucevic is full of inflated numbers on a bad team. I don't agree there. I think he's very underrated.
He's been underrated.
Yeah. I think he's just finally starting to get some notice. Let's see. Gotta do for big names. Can come to Dallas.
I mean, if it came down...
I mean, you've kind of already done it, Luka and Kristaps.
Yeah, at the same price, if you say you can have either Vucevic, I said his name wrong, Vucevic, or Boogie Cousins, I'm taking Boogie Cousins. He might not be as well of a fit, but...
Boogie has looked very good coming back from his Achilles injury and everything. Now it helps obviously being on that team and the attention everyone draws.
And then Boogie's more of a playmaker too than
Boogie, Dallas has been tied to Boogie for a while. Of course, they didn't offer him anything coming off the Achilles, which, given their situation, it made all the sense in the world not to offer him anything because they knew that he wasn't going to play until at least December or January.
Honestly, people are killing Boogie for this deal, and I thought it was actually a good deal for him.
For him, it makes sense. It's just the perception that it's the Warriors. And,
but I mean,
and people already trying to tie Luka to freaking Golden State. Like, move on. Somebody build a team to beat them. Don't just try and join them.
Exactly.
Don't Kevin Durant this.
Could the Mavericks get DeMarcus Cousins?
Yeah, Jonathan Motley. How did that get? That escaped me for reasons I can't explain.
Because it escaped you, it escaped me. So
oh, yes. Because we all know that you piggyback off of. The focus. Focus. Let's see. Yeah, Randall would be sweet for the right price. Randall's, he's raised his game. He's going to opt out because he's got a player option. Yep. AD's going to be gone. I fully expect Randall to be available. The question is, where does he go? He's got ties here in Dallas, but he also kind of might feel a little disrespected by us. So it's hard to say.
Don't speak into that.
Speak it into existence.
Business is business, man.
We'll see. I would be interested. I wrote an article last year at the trade deadline saying I wanted Dallas to go get him from at the time the Lakers. So I want Randall in Dallas. It's just they disagreed.
Does it have to be a big man too? Does it really have to be?
I mean, I think they're talking about pairing with KP for like what you were talking about, the rebounding. So I think they want, because KP is really more of a 4. He can play 5 because of his size, obviously, but he's really built more like a 4. And so I think they're talking about just getting another big man to pair with him. Obviously, you've got Maxey, but Maxey's a little undersized in that capacity.
So is Maxey. He's like 6'10".
10, I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he can start, but I would love to have him off the bench.
Could Randall play the 5 next to KP at the 4? Randall is a 4. So could Randall play the 5 with KP at the 4? That would be
it's interchangeable, but
front court is front court, I guess. But it would look weird with your 5 being 5 inches shorter than your 4.
I mean, we
talk about all the Euros.
Bruh.
Greek Freak, Luka, KP, and Jokic. Yeah,
and it will work too.
4 best Euro players. Yeah. Oh no, he wasn't talking about us getting that. He was saying who the 4 best Euros are. Yeah, you're not going to be able to get Jokic. Let's see. Could the Mavs get DeMarcus Cousins? We were just talking about that. Could they? If they're willing to pay out, and I think they're more temperament-wise interested in Vucevic. But if Vucevic isn't obtainable or whatever, maybe the price isn't right. I mean, you're gonna have to pay out for Boogie anyway, because Boogie. The whole point of this is to get a ring, because he had never even been to the playoffs. Because they went last year, but he was out. Hurt, so he's never been in the playoffs. So he went there to not just get a ring, but to also then move on to reclaim his value after an Achilles.
Yeah.
So would I want Boogie? Skill set wise, he would work well. I don't know. I would be.
I think he'll work great. What you mean?
I would be afraid of the locker room thing. Now he hasn't been as big of a locker room problem the last couple of years. It sounds like.
When was he? I mean, other than
Sacramento.
Other than the Kings, when was he a bad locker room presence? Was he a bad locker room presence?
I never heard anything in New Orleans.
Nope.
So, yeah.
I mean,
maybe that's just an unfair.
But
people have seen the on the court stuff with him and all the antics.
He's an intense guy. That's what he is. Like, you need someone who's good. He's never. I mean, him and Draymond, they're both intense guys. Those type of personalities are bound to clash at a point in time. But they're the type of people that they'll have their moment where they clash. But when it's done, it's over. They move on. People like that always have the rap of, "Oh, he's a bad locker room person." I don't necessarily think so. Why?
I hope they're not going down the rabbit hole of what we've already touched on, but don't really want to talk on more.
What?
The whole mixtape culture thing.
Oh, whatever.
I'm hoping that's not where that's going.
No, he's like, I mean, look, Boogie Cousins can shoot the 3. He can dribble the ball. He can get rebounds. He's 30 pounds heavier than Kristaps Porzingis. He has muscle. Did I say he can pass?
Yeah.
And he can pass. Like, with the kind of ball movement we're talking about that we were trying to have with the Mavericks, he will be a better fit than Vucevic. Now, with the money work, that's the question that ends all questions. If the money works for the Boogie Cousins and Nikola Vucevic, if I'm Mark Cuban, I'm going after Boogie. No questions asked. I'm sorry, you guys.
Skill set wise, he probably fits a little better. Yeah.
Yeah, skill set wise.
Yeah.
You want to talk about temperament?
But he might be. What's the difference in age and all that though? Boogie's 30.
Boogie, no, he's not 30.
I think he's. I don't know. I think Boogie's
some of these
like
guys, I feel like they've been in the NBA.
Am I wrong? Is he like 27 or something?
He's our age.
Okay, so 29.
He's 29. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 30. Basically.
So basically 30.
You basically just add a year.
Yeah, so 30.
Yeah.
I don't know what Vucevic is by comparison, but I don't feel like he's been around too long. Research department gets on that.
Okay.
How about KP's All-Star year from last year compared to Luka now? He'd say Mav Zero says he would still take Luka in terms of if you had one you had to pick.
Oh, I'll take
KP's All-Star last year versus Luka this year.
I'll still take Luka.
Luka's non-All-Star.
Luka should be freaking.
Yes, I would still take Luka.
Yeah, Luka can freaking do it all.
I mean, that's the centerpiece you build around.
Yeah.
A Porzingis is, as he is appropriately dubbed, a unicorn.
Yeah,
but he's a second piece.
Boban better than Boogie. That's what you guys are talking crazy. Yeah, he's a great piece. Guys that are like Luka Doncic, like a LeBron James, those are like your prototypical. If you ask a GM or a coach, who would you want? Name a type of player that you want to start a franchise around same age. Luka Vucevic, same age. Born
same age.
90s,
Okay.
A little, like a couple, 2 months younger.
Okay. So he's a little older than I thought he was.
A guy that you want to build a team around is a guy that you can do everything. Luka can literally do everything. Score, pass, rebound. Okay, defend. He's not bad. He's a good team defender, but he's not your best defender.
Sure.
You can find someone that can defend better than him. So I'll definitely choose.
So let's see here. We got time for 3 more questions. So we talked a little bit, obviously, on the names they're kind of tied to.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about how in the summer they could do that.
Mm-hmm.
What is it, if you had to say, whether it's position or role, whichever, what do you think is their next biggest need that they need to address? Like, not saying after, like, clearly they're hinting at it being front court, but...
if it was up to me?
Yes.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'd probably go after front court just because of
the rebounding.
Rebounding, Kristaps' injury history, just to have insurance for another big man that can play alongside Luka.
Yeah. And the reason I think front court is even...
wing defender. I can find wing defenders even.
Yeah. And the reason I would say that front court is probably the best assessment there, as you mentioned earlier, Porzingis has, of 296 possible games, he has played in 186. And his injury last year in February means it was later in the year, so he probably only missed about 30 of those games then. So he's got an injury history, nothing major until the knee, but that is something to kind of put some consideration into. Yeah, I know. That is something to put some consideration into. Do you think Dorian Finney-Smith is gone because DSJ is gone? No. Why would Finney-Smith be gone because of that?
They're such best friends. They're the 2 best friends that anybody can have.
I don't think that's a problem. I think it's business because Dennis and his people forced his way out. It's not like the Mavericks pushed him out the door. Now, you could say that they didn't feel that he had faith in them, and maybe that stems initially from the Mavericks, but it's a business. You got to make that decision.
Man, I love he's like
I think
offensive rebound extraordinaire.
I think Dorian Finney-Smith's role, if anything, should increase now because I think he can kind of fill more the role of what Wes was doing in regards to
he was I feel like he was
3-and-D and all that.
I feel like he was a better 3-and-D player than Wes Matthews anyway.
Right.
I'm definitely down. 2K needs to freaking update their stats on him, by the way. He's still like at 72 overall. Trash. 2K is becoming trash, bro. I'm sorry.
That's a whole different topic.
Yeah, we won't got the time. It's becoming trash. Like, you need to be like the A-list type athletes for them to even pay attention to you. If you're on a team that like Brunson is still 70. What's his nuts is still Dorian Finney-Smith is still 72. Like, bruh, like. Brunson's easily a 75.
At least they paid attention to Luka. He's up from like a 79 to like an 87.
That's what I'm saying. Luka's an A-list now. Like you don't get 4.2 million votes and not be an A-list. So he's an A-list. That's why they're paying attention to him. But they don't pay attention to any other people. So it's trash. I'm sorry.
So it's probably gonna do it for the time. Maybe someone can sneak in a quick question, but I'm gonna go through.
Yeah, Maxey's still 73 as well. Trash. They're up.
Yeah. They just don't update the rosters the way they used to.
Not the league. Like I said, you got to be A-list for that.
Right.
Like they update all the people who are in the All-Star game all the time. But.
Right. So, with that, we're gonna start wrapping up the show here. If you had a quick question to throw in the chat real quick, feel free. If we catch it and it's a quick answer, we can give it to you.
Or you can tweet us.
Yeah, I mean, guys, hit us up. I'm gonna set up the Discord thing. I've already got one.
Getting
I've already got one for. I saw. The world saw.
Sweats.
I've already got one for patrons, but I'm going to set up a separate one that's just kind of like an open forum on that. So everyone saw the TPN audition thing that rolled out last Friday.
Yeah.
Another part of that has been filmed with Sports Fury. That's going to be continuing. That content's going to come out. Something I'm going to start doing as well is the once a month, so one of the 2 videos I do a month in that regard is going to be patrons are going to have the ability to actually vote on what my topic is.
Nice.
So I'm going to start doing that, and that's going to open up as well. We're going to do it where there's behind the scenes footage and photos and stuff of the collaborations and stuff, early access. So the tape I mentioned earlier, the video that you saw, that is exclusively open to patrons right now, or the people I collaborate with directly.
Man, I'm about to go on Patreon then.
So even just at the $1 level, you get access to that stuff. And like I said, you get a chance to voice your opinion on what you want to see us talk about and do with my future TPN segments. Glad I got that opportunity, that job.
Mm-hmm.
So
congrats, by the way.
Yeah, I was pumped. I was worried I blew it when I burst into tears. But yeah, so that went well. Beyond that, guys, like he said, just hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. We're gonna do a lot of big things in 2019.
What do y'all think about the Mav art? That's pretty dope, right? Anyway,
I put that together on the fly.
Yeah.
But
cool.
Yeah, so
hit us up on
we'll
Twitter.
Go from there.
What's your Twitter name?
I can actually switch to the graphic of it, although it'll probably cover your face for a moment again.
Oh no.
Ha ha ha!
Oh.
You can follow me at DDP_journalist, or you can just follow at Dallas Prospect. I've got Ennies on here as well, at Enyi and DDP.
Hit us up on represent.com.
Got some merch there as well. Yep.
Yeah.
That's an option there.
What is it?
Uncover you. Represent.com/store/the-Dallas-Prospect. I can throw that up too. Covered again. No.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd it go? Oh, I hit the wrong one.
Yeah, you did.
There you go. Covered again. Represent.com. Links in the description if you want to check out the merch.
Appreciate you guys.
But yeah, let's see here. Lift up your arms again. The report that Barnes might be traded by the deadline. Yeah, I think Barnes probably does get moved.
No, there was a report. Oh, yeah.
We know that the Kings were a discussion. I don't think that's going to really go too far with that.
It better.
Yeah, it'd be great if it did, but I don't know.
Yeah, I put up a hypothetical trade on Twitter for Harrison Barnes for Bogdanovich and Willie Cauley-Stein just to make the money work. I got destroyed, people. It was crazy. It was hilarious. And they're still hitting me up to this day. I posted like 2 weeks ago.
They came to his house. They kicked his dog. It was awful.
Yeah, man. Like, y'all need to step your game up, MFFLs. Like, I'm still getting tweets 2 weeks ago from saying that. It's like, we don't want to trade Bogey. Harrison Barnes is trash. I'm like, well, he's not that bad. He's averaging 18 points a game.
Yeah.
Trash people just don't do that. But anyway.
Do you think we will make a move? This is the last question I'm taking here.
All right.
First name, last name. Do you think we will make a move to have cap space to pursue a big name like KD or Clay this summer?
I am done. I don't want that freaking fool here. Actually, I'll take Kevin. right here.
I would still call him Snake.
Yeah.
If he did come here. Do I think they will make the move? That was really the discussion.
Nope.
I don't think they're going to be able to open up the money for that. They'll make a move where they can sign a top end guy, but I don't think it's going to be KD, and I think KD is going to the Knicks at this point. Regarding what was the other name he mentioned as well?
I don't know.
Clay, I don't think leaves Golden State. If he's open to leave Golden State, he probably ends up in like the frickin' Lakers or something like that, stay in California. But we'll see. I think they will look to. They'll explore it.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know that they're going to have the ability to open up that much. And I think that's part of why they like Vucevic, is because they don't feel like they have to necessarily max him to get him. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably the thinking there. But that will do it for our time here, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Harrison Barnes to the wings for Liz Cambridge.
I'd do it.
Liz Cambridge is even on the team.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for our time, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
All right. Enjoy the Super Bowl, by the way.
Yeah, we got that in like 30 minutes.
No games.
Yeah. So enjoy the game. We'll be back and look for more content. Until next time, remember...
Every legend was once playing for the Dallas Mavericks.
Salute.
Ow, my knee!
Now we know who has the knee. We know who has the knee. Challenge you to 1-on-1 right now.
We'll settle the score right now.